So Mr. Suit Records is a store I opened about 11 years ago now. All vinyl. Record store in Lancaster, kind of cover all the genres, cover all the time periods. For better or for worse, it's kind of a 24-hour gig. Like, I'm in here early in the morning doing mail order stuff or cleaning records. I have a horror movie on. It's kind of the default thing where, like, okay, well, I'm unwinding, I've got nothing else going on. I always have a stack of horror movies to watch. So luckily, it's something Colleen and I enjoy together. So it's not the annoying habit that everyone wishes I would stop.
First Friday Fright Night is a horror movie night that we do every first Friday at Zoetropolis.
Zoetropolis has been a mainstay. It was even open a couple years. I moved to town in maybe 2001 or 2, and it had been there a few years before I got here.
It's just a little art house movie theater in this area, kind of a jewel in the city. We've always enjoyed going there just because they show some things you wouldn't see anywhere else kind of in the county.
Different couple location changes. The old Zoetropolis was like a fun, neat kind of hole-in-the-wall spot that worked for a good while, but this time it sounds better, it looks better, the seating's better.
They have their own stillhouse, they've got food available, so it's legitimately like a one-stop shop for everything that you could possibly want.
Obviously, Colleen and I go to Zoetropolis all the time, and the owners approached me about, like, would you want to do like a record night at the movie theater or some kind of a way to kind of tie it in and kind of cross-promote stuff like that. And they had Fright Night for a little while.
Originally, it was happening at around midnight. They were showing movies like Halloween, horror movies, but kind of more straight-laced horror movies.
So I said, well, instead of doing like can we do a cross promotion by having us kind of take over and curate the first Fright Night? And they were thrilled about that.
We bumped the time down to 9 o'clock, and we bumped the quality of the horror movie down a little bit. The very first one we showed was New Year's Evil.
Literally from day one, I thought it would be cool for a month or two, and then it would just be us and like a dozen friends. But
even from the beginning, it was like people stepped right up, and it was as if a hole had been filled in the community of weirdos that wanted to watch bad horror movies. They want to see gore, plot holes, various scenes of 70s, 60s, 80s horror movies.
It's interesting because you get some people who are as diehard about it as we are and know all the trivia and know all the different directors.
When we showed Blood Diner, 2 people came dressed up as characters from Blood Diner, and that kind of meant something. It was like, it really brought out a particular type of moviegoer.
And then it's great, there's been some people who have been showing up and like, yeah, I have a great time. I don't really even pay attention to what you guys are going to show. I just show up and it's always a surprise.
It's a little bit different every month. Sometimes it's both of us saying basically at the same time after we've seen a new movie, like that's what should be done this month.
We try to keep like the kind of the funhouse kind of atmosphere to it.
It has to be schlocky. It can't just be scary. If it's just scary, then that's great, but it's not as fun as being able to laugh at somebody's head blowing up.
Definitely not the high budget movies, definitely not to be always taken entirely seriously. Maybe not the most cerebral ones. You laugh, you scream, you have a good time with your friends.
Probably one of my favorite ones that we've shown and the reaction that we've gotten was showing Sleepaway Camp. I deeply regret not bringing a recorder in to get the reaction of everybody at the end of that movie.
This movie called Pieces is like a slasher movie made by like space people because it's so over the top.
Get him!
And the dialogue is so ridiculous.
Bastard! Bastard! Bastard!
I have a soft spot for Dr. Butcher because somebody proposed to me after Dr. Butcher.
Dead and Buried was really great. This really kind of Twilight Zone-ish movie where everybody in this town realizes that they're all zombies.
The Void was a huge, huge one for me. That was amazing because it was one of the very first ones where people had to be turned away because so many people had shown up to see it. I think 40 people couldn't get into the door that night. So that was really incredible to see Zoetropolis be that successful for something, but also that, a newer horror movie could bring people out like that was really awesome to see.
What's neat is Zoetropolis, just naturally by being a theater, gets solicited with newer movies, and so there's stuff that they've like, hey, check this out, and we love it. So we kind of can open it up to not just stuff that's older, which is neat.
First Friday is kind of a big party in Lancaster. On the first Friday of every month, there's a variety of things going on at any given month.
A bunch of spaces all have like a, kind of guerrilla dance performance or, pop-up, whatever, photography shows, stuff like that. So it's a kind of a way to just kind of stroll around the town.
Lancaster County is full of like art galleries and this very highbrow art that takes itself very seriously. And this is one venue on First Friday that you can just come to and, you're watching a brain in a jar talk to two people or something like that.
I hope there's someone in 10 years going like, yeah, I went to Zoetropolis and there is this weird movie with a guy in a miner's helmet chasing teens around and stuff.
I think we just want to keep going. We want to keep going until we run out of dumb horror movies to show people.
This has been going for the past 3 years, so we have yet to run out of movies with people bringing movies to our attention. That's always great.
The other thing I think we're gearing a little bit more towards is having some of those triple feature nights where maybe we switch it up and maybe we do show some TV shows instead. Maybe we show something that's not necessarily a horror movie but has kind of more of a sci-fi component but still has that same quality of being goofy and laughable.
We can kind of keep it kind of loose and fun. We have a lot of options to make sure it's not just predictable, I guess is what we want to say.
I would love to see a little bit more of that dressing up component. I'd love to see, people who are as obsessed with these movies as we are coming out.
I can't think of a night where it's like, oh, there should be more people here. If it's not packed, it's always like, well, this is a good crowd.
So just growing it as much as we can.